Whether or not you care about Paper Mario or Nintendo at all, you are more than likely aware at this point that Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door has gotten a remake. And that's partially due to how bonkers the fans of the series have been going, including myself. The fact that The Thousand Year Door has gotten a remake isn't just because Nintendo is trying to make some easy money.
Hello! I like money!
It's also not because they're trying to fill in a catalog, although both of those are definitely a factor. It has been 20 long years since this game has made an appearance or even been acknowledged by Nintendo. The series this game belongs to, Paper Mario, has gone through some drastic changes over the years, but you're probably well aware of that. For a while, it seemed like Nintendo wanted to erase the past and pretend like this game never existed. Nintendo was moving this series in a direction that a lot of fans were not happy with, but it seems like that's about to change. But why do fans hold this game in such an extremely high regard? And why has it caused so much controversy over the years? The Thousand Year Door released on the GameCube in 2004. It'll be officially 20 years this July 22nd. It was a sequel to Paper Mario on the N64, and that game was a sequel, kind of a spin-off of Super Mario RPG, which received its own remake recently. And although Mario RPG and the original Paper Mario are great games, I can say that now having played them, up to that point and still to this day, nothing can compare to The Thousand Year Door. I don't want to say too much and spoil the game since you'll get to play it for the first time in less than a week now, but the reason this game is so special, at least in my opinion, is how incredibly well this game is able to immerse you into its story. The characters and story are written better than a lot of movies, and I mean a lot. And the overall charm and themes this game has going on makes it like nothing else. Of course, nothing is perfect, this game does have its flaws, backtracking is probably its weakest point, but it looks like they've addressed almost all of the issues in the remake, so it may turn out to be a perfect game. But even with that said, the original still holds up really well today. And even though this game was beloved by almost everyone, Nintendo decided that it would be best to take the series in a different direction. And I have very split opinions on this. On one side, I like experimentation. That's one of the reasons why Nintendo makes such good games. And even though I would love Super Mario Galaxy 20, after that many times, the series would start to get a little old. On the other hand though, there is a certain charm in familiarity. Revisiting a beloved tried and true formula can sometimes be really fun. Super Paper Mario was released on the Wii in 2007. It was a drastically different game from The Thousand Year Door. Although it still had several of the key components like partners and an amazing story, it was much more of a 2D platformer than an RPG. The art style and character design were both very experimental. However, it still manages to be one of my favorite games of all time. I really wish it had become its own spin-off series. And although this game was certainly not what fans wanted, they wouldn't get upset until 2012, when Paper Mario Sticker Star released. This game is by far the most infamous name in Paper Mario titles. Pretty much everyone despises this game, and the few who don't, love it. There is a fan base for this game despite how hated it is by a lot of people. But having hardly even played the game myself, I don't really have any opinion on it. But the stuff that I have heard about it over the years is that it had practically no story, which is more than likely the biggest reason why people liked the previous game so much. You play Paper Mario for the story. The game also lacked any real unique characters. I don't want to get too deep into this stuff. The most important thing to note about this game is that it took the paper theme to the extreme. There are still very split opinions on whether Paper Mario should be this heavily themed after paper, and personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with the art style. I think these games look great. It really only becomes a problem when paper becomes the center of the story. But as a Thousand Year Door fan, Sticker Star was basically the end of the road for you. Most people were so mad at Sticker Star that they just straight up ignored the next game, Paper Mario Color Splash. This game was basically ignored, overlooked, people pretended it didn't exist. Which honestly is a shame. This game really is not that bad. It's still nowhere near the Thousand Year Door when it comes to anything, but it certainly didn't deserve the amount of hate that it got. This game tried really hard to be like old Paper Mario, but still stay within the boundaries that were set on it. We'll get to that stuff in a bit. At this point, I think most people had accepted that Paper Mario was dead, and that it would never be what it once was. That was until the Origami King kind of changed opinions. It was my introduction to Paper Mario, so I might be a little biased to it. I love this game. When I first played it, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I didn't even know what Paper Mario was. And so this game blew me away. I did not know Mario had this kind of world building, story, character, humor. To me, it was basically a movie. A really, really good movie. And after I finished it, I had to have more. I needed more Paper Mario. And so I went looking, and that led me down the Paper Mario rabbit trail. I eventually found out that the majority said the Thousand Year Door is the best game. I also found out that the game that I love so much was hated by a lot of people, which is always lovely, isn't it? But it has not phased my opinion on the game at all. It is still my second favorite game of all time. But since the Thousand Year Door was supposedly the holy grail of Paper Mario games, I had to get my hand on it. If I loved the Origami King, who knows how much I'd love the Thousand Year Door after seeing how much people praise this game. But thanks to Nintendo, that was impossible. Legally, at least. And without spending in excess of $100. I eventually did play the game. You can thank your favorite aquatic mammal for that. And I have to say, I understand. I understand why Nintendo has kept this game hidden for so long, and I understand why people love it so much. This game is surreal. The amount of stuff that it gets away with is really impressive. But with all of that aside, the game itself is excellent. The story, the characters, the polished Paper Mario 64 battle system, this game is a masterpiece. And until the remake was announced, I didn't think we would ever see this game again, for two reasons. Like I mentioned earlier, this game gets away with a lot. I didn't think Nintendo wanted to resurface anything, but the biggest reason, which is what a lot of people think, is Shigeru Miyamoto, or more specifically what Shigeru Miyamoto has been known to say. Shigeru Miyamoto supposedly told the Paper Mario team, "It is fine without a story, so do we really need one?" And, as much as possible, complete it with only characters from the Super Mario world. And that does explain why the games became as basic as they did. Like I mentioned earlier, Color Splash tried really hard to be like old Paper Mario, but because of these regulations it was held back. Of course, this always begs the question, why would Shigeru Miyamoto say this? There are a lot of different reasons people have proposed, the biggest being that Shigeru Miyamoto just hates story. And I'm not denying it, there is some real evidence for that, especially when comparing Mario Galaxy 1 to 2. But I also think it might have been him trying to prevent some of the more weird elements from the Thousand Year Door and Super showing up in the modern age. But I guess that theory has kind of been debunked now that the remake is here and they didn't change anything. And really, they could have just given us a port of the game. And I think we would still be ecstatic over that. But they didn't do that. They gave us a full-on remake, which is something people have been begging for a very long time. So the fact that Nintendo might have listened to us is very strange. And they didn't give us any ordinary remake either. They went all out on this. This is the big game this year. This is the equivalent of Tears of the Kingdom for 2024. And from what I've seen, they have improved so much of this game that it could very well become my new favorite video game of all time, ever. It would still take a lot to get it there, but if anything's ever going to top Mario Galaxy, it's gonna be this. This game is also a sign that Nintendo might be moving their company back to how it was with the Wii and Wii U era. I think it's pretty common knowledge that the Switch lacks personality. If it wasn't for the games, this console would be pretty bland. Of course, games are the most important thing. If having a boring console means we get Pikmin 4, Mario Bros. Wonder, and Paper Mario, I'll take it. But it still wouldn't be very difficult at all to add some music or themes. And considering the new Switch is going to release sometime soon, I really hope it has more personality. Something funny to note is that if we had got this game just 1 year earlier, I would never have found out about homebrew or emulators. I would have had no clue. The reason I learned about all of that stuff is so I could play this game. But all that work is for nothing now, I guess. Please let me know your opinions about the Thousand Year Door in the comments. Does it deserve the amount of praise that it gets? Also, somewhere in this video is a hidden duck. Why a duck? No reason. But if you find it, make sure to put the timestamps in the comments. And the option to subscribe is always there for you. Thank you for watching.